is 7 o'clock, and I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Lacine City Council to order. We have a quorum. Good evening. I hope your Easter celebrations were a little different, but very good. Our churches, the buildings were closed, but the churches were in working order, and they were ministering to their people, and they found a way to do that and still follow the guidelines and protect our citizens at the same time. We appreciate this, and we appreciate the volunteers that work to help our city in so many ways. The churches are now rotating each month to deliver the senior meals to our homebound elder population for both Lacine and for Lynn Valley, and we want to thank them for that. The library has been providing senior lunches for those seniors who are not homebound but do have additional needs during this crisis, and that number per day for lunch is approaching 100 meals. As usual, our librarian staff have been very responsive to our needs during this crisis. They're such an important part of our community, and we want to thank them for that. Right now, the governor's shelter-in-place order is in effect until April the 19th. Once that expires, the county shelter-in-place till the end of the month will take effect again, unless something new comes out, and that shelter-in-place order goes till April 30th. But please watch the emergency management website and the Lacine website and Facebook pages for the most current information, because things change often. I want to mention that most people should have received their census, and at Lacine is at 48.8% as far as response goes. It's a pretty simple form. Once you get it, you can go online and finish it, and get that accomplished so that we're counted fully. Right now, we're going to move to our phones for the body of the meeting. Okay, we're over on our conference call now, and I'd like to do a roll call verbally. Please state your name, and I'm going to say Jerome Mitzner.
I'm present.
Keith Stoker.
Here.
Danny Curtis.
Here.
Tommy Cap.
Present.
James Thies is not present. The next item is our consent agenda. Do we have any discussion on the consent agenda items? If we do not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Madam Mayor, Jerome Mitzner. I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Madam Mayor?
Yes?
Yep. I make a second.
All in favor? Jerome Mitzner.
Aye.
Keith Stoker.
Aye.
Danny Curtis.
Aye.
Tommy Cap.
Aye.
Unanimous. Passed. Discussion from the floor is temporarily suspended, so we're going to move on to special projects. On our sewer project, B&G Consultants is preparing the topographic survey based on the information from the field. Data is being researched and collected for the boundary survey. on the KDOT clip. On-site field check meeting with U. Bogle, KDOT, and Donna Smith, KDOT. Jason Hoskins, BG Consultants, is scheduled for May 14th, 2020 at 10 a.m. Are there any questions or comments on those? Okay, we're going to move forward to reports of city officers. Our city attorney, Burton Harding, is on the line, and we're going to start with Burton.
Thank you. Got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, but I think it'll kind of come up in new business regarding the planning and zoning recommendation. The only point I'd make is, Mayor, I think there's some new information that stay-at-home order has actually already been extended as of today, and it's been extended to, let me look at it again, I think May 3rd.
Is that from the governor?
Yes. The governor wanted to see the numbers decline for 14 consecutive days, and I guess that by their math, that'll be May 3rd at this point, so it may be extended again, but that stay-at-home order has been extended until May 3rd.
Thank you, Burton.
And I've got, again, I think I'll reserve some of the rest of the comments until we get into the planning and zoning and policy discussions. We got some progress on that.
Okay, thank you. And we have Officer Chief Tina Finity on the line for Police Chief and Codes Officer. We want to welcome her.
Hi, Madam Mayor. This is Tina Finity. How are you?
Good. I'm glad to hear
I'm
you.
good, thank you.
Tina, if you could mute your computer in the background, that way you won't get any feedback.
Okay.
And we're ready
That
for
better?
your report. Yes.
I spoke to Curtis yesterday, and he said that the numbers for everything were still the same. And I just want to thank everyone for offering the position to me, and I look forward to working with everyone.
Glad to have you aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We're going to switch phones and have our Public Works Superintendent Dan Nazelroy join us, but it'll take just a minute to do that. So if you'll hold steady with us for just a moment, we'll have him on. Dan, are you there now?
Dan, are you with us? And Dan, make sure you do mute your computer in the background. Are you there?
This is Dan. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Very clear. And this is Dan Nazelroy, and we're ready for his Public Works Department report.
Everything's put in on the report, so unless anybody had any questions. Yeah, I had one question, man.
house on Fourth Street, that sewer, that the water line, when they put it in, they went through that sewer. Have we done anything with that? CFC&G or anybody gonna reimburse that, or are we just stuck with that?
I believe that, that email to us. I don't think they ever responded though.
Yeah, I just wondered how, if we was gonna have to pay for that, or somebody, if they was gonna, I know it's out of the warranty period, but if they was gonna honor that or not. Okay.
Yeah, my guess is we'll probably have to end up eating it, being they haven't responded. I don't know if Jody's still on the line, if she can, if she's heard anything different, but I'm pretty sure she sent out an email and we never got any response.
That would be correct.
Okay.
Are there
And
any,
this Keith Stoker,
yes,
Yes.
on your cold mix, is that $125 a ton, is that a delivered price, or is that FOB?
Yes, that's $125 a ton delivered, and I don't have, it was like $3,100, I think was the total. This is the company that we've always used in the past. I was kind of here, but can't get anybody to make it or deliver it at this point. So it's really up to you guys if you want to wait until more of this blows over, or if we want to get started on some of the potholes. I would suggest go ahead and get this coming.
I think we go ahead and get it, potholes aren't gonna get any better. Something needs to be done.
Now, we did, through cooperation with the county, we were able to do some work at the industrial 152 interchange. Again, going to be temporary. Don't know how long it'll hold up. The truck traffic is just insane there right now, so hopefully it'll hold up for a little bit.
Hey, Dan, Tommy here.
Yes, sir.
As far as manpower, do you get plenty of manpower to use this cold patch now?
Yes, we're fully staffed. So yeah, it shouldn't be any problem. Still just go in between our other duties. We'll break them loose and work an area.
Okay, but timing-wise, we'd be good to be doing it now versus maybe the summer or more things break loose.
Yeah, there's just that are really, some of them, I know we've got some issues that are going into the Harbor Heights entrance. That's pretty bad. We've got one on 6 and 152 that's pretty bad. So this load won't get us everything we need to get done. This will just get us to we'll prioritize some of the worst spots and do that first. And by then we can try to have that product up and try it. This will at least get us started on some of the major areas.
So let's get it rolling.
Madam Mayor, Jerome.
yes?
Yes, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the expenditure for, public works by $1,125 worth of patch through Kilo Construction out of Ottawa.
Do we have a second?
This is Keith Stoker, I second.
Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call for the vote. Jerome Mitzner,
Aye.
Keith Stoker,
Aye.
Danny Curtis,
Aye.
Tommy Cap.
Aye.
That's passed unanimous. Is there anything else for Dan on his Public Works Department?
Madam Mayor,
Can you repeat that, please?
yes, Madam Mayor, it's Dan, Maple Road. I think some unfinished business topic of the uniforms were gonna come up again. I thought maybe I can get off the line and take somebody else has to get on.
Okay. So, down on unfinished business, you remember from, our last meeting that we talked about, the uniforms, that the old to, that the, purchase order on page 21. And what this would do is it would, if approved, we would be canceling our uniform service and then moving into a, process of having an allotment for clothing and then a yearly allotment.
To add 2 more employees to our current contract with the uniform company. It's silly at this point because they charge so much upfront to put a new guy into his uniforms with doing the lettering and the sewing on the patches and all that. So I wanted to be on the phone at the last meeting. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood that this isn't something that's going to be, it's going to be cheaper in the long run. If I put 2 more employees on now onto our current uniform contract, with the other 2, it would just not be cost effective. I was hoping to have a price on the t-shirts and the long sleeve shirts today from the company out of Pleasanton, but we weren't able to get in touch with her today to get a more solid price. But with those t-shirts, sweatshirts, and all that stuff, even though that still comes out of their clothing allowance, so if we give them 5 t-shirts out of our inventory, that comes out of their allotment, what they can spend, if that makes sense.
I only got one thing to say, and the thing is, if we do this, and we do get them uniforms, they better be wearing them, not wearing something else because they don't like the uniforms. I don't like the fact that we got employees now that we have been paying for uniforms for, and they are not wearing the uniforms because they don't like them.
Yes, I agree. That was something that was discussed prior to me coming on, allowing some of them not to wear them. But yeah, it's going to be mandatory, just as it is right now. If they're out and about, out of their vehicle or out of the shop, they're wearing the vest that is provided for now until we can get them. All the shirts, the hoodies, sweatshirts will be high vis. Either orange or the yellow, that hasn't been decided yet, but, so yeah, it will be mandatory.
Okay.
So, any other discussion on the, canceling of the uniform service and beginning, the suggested process outlined on page 21?
The only thing I don't know, I may have discussed it, we may have already, this is Keith, sorry, is maybe holding off on buying any of the winter, cold weather gear, until fall, moving closer to fall.
Yes, and honestly, it's really, once they get their allotment, it's really for them as far as if they want to buy Carhartts or whatever, if they have money in their allotment, they can buy them. At the end of the year, they can't. But, the only thing that we're dictating that they have to wear, obviously, is anything that we provide that says, City of Lacina. For winter clothing, if they want, we will provide one. I don't want to call it a heavy jacket, but a heavier jacket. That'll be in the high vis also for the fall, but yeah, we won't order them until fall.
Okay.
Hey, Dan, this is Jerome. I got bumped off there for a minute, but could you talk a little bit about the annual cost savings, if you haven't already, that we're looking at by switching this?
That's going to be more, I can't, Jody would have a better grasp of that. Unfortunately, without getting the actual price on the t-shirt, in the long run, it's the initial upfront, that first year, which we spend more per, is still less than what we're spending now on the uniform company. Until I can get an exact price, what the t-shirts and stuff are gonna cost, but it's gonna really cost, and Joe, I don't have it, in front of me, but I believe it was, the first year was $900, per employee, as they come on their first year to get their G's, stuff like that. Then after that, it becomes only $400. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that's probably what we're spending now.
And Jody has the project out in front of her, so she can give you some numbers.
So currently, right now, with the uniform company, we expend anywhere between $2,500 to $5,500 annually for the uniforms. And again, that comes with, if new employees come in and them getting stocked with a set of items, if there's any damage to the clothing, replacement cost and those things. And switching over to this, based on some estimates, I contacted a couple of entities that could provide the type of clothing that we're looking at. Got a few estimates from some of the places that print shirts. And so based on just some of those figures, we would be looking at between maybe $1,600 to maybe up to $2,000 on an annual basis. And again, that would be if you were fully replacing that whole amount every year. But obviously, some years, if their coats aren't worn out or their coveralls aren't worn out, they don't need to purchase another item or expend any, some of that allotment that year, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. To me, it sounds like it's a significant savings for the city if we do switch to supplying our own uniforms instead of going through a contractor.
Right. And it would be something that they help select, except for like the shirt. And so they'd be wearing them and they would be more reasonable price. So do we feel comfortable to go ahead and have, in the discussion, if somebody wanted to make a motion?
Madam Mayor, Thomas Cap, I have a quick question on this bill.
Yes.
At the end of the year, if there is, say, $200 left in SO's account, what is gonna be the procedure at that point? Lose it, or are we paying it out?
My
Are you
perspective.
talking like the initial first year, with the purchasing of boots and stuff, doesn't foresee that happening. But I think we will keep track, because there's only two vendors, other than where we get the shirts and stuff from, as far as the jeans, the jackets, coveralls, boots. There's only two vendors, so we'll be able to monitor where they are with that account. And so if it gets to the end of the year and they still have money left, then I'll let them know, listen, you're good to go. Just be aware that, at the end of the year, it starts to a new total.
Yeah, okay, but we're not paying back. We have $150 left, and we're not paying back though.
They only can be in clothing. We don't give them the $200. It has to be spent on clothing at once. No.
Would anybody else like some clarification?
Madam Mayor, Jerome Mitzner, I'll make the motion that we end the contract with UniFirst uniforms and begin supplying our own wear to our employees.
Do we have a
Madam
second?
Mayor, Tommy Cap, second that.
Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call for approval. We have a motion and we have a second. Jerome Mitzner.
Aye.
Keith Stoker. Danny Curtis,
Aye.
Tommy Cap.
Aye.
That is passed, unanimous. Are there any other questions for Public Works Department, Dan? I'm gonna move on to, report from the fire chief, Dan. Didn't have anything? Okay, nothing to report. Okay, thank you, Dan. We're gonna move on to the city clerk, Jody Wade.
Anybody have any questions? I do just want to make one very brief comment. Is I do want to give a huge thank you to all of our departments, City Hall, Public Works, Police, our council, because within the last 18 months, we have had a major changeover in all of our staff, and we have a large new team in each of our different departments, and we have a couple new council members, we have a new mayor, and I'm really excited about moving forward with our whole new team. And I want to reach out to you all to look at the opportunity with new sets of eyes, looking at things, new conversation evolving for direction for our city, and even just the mass ideas that could be available for us in approaching things, perhaps in, ways we've done it or in new ways. So I just want to thank you guys for being so supportive as we've worked our way through all of this transition over the last 18 months.
Thank you, Jody. Any questions for Jody on her report or any comments?
Thank you very much, Jody.
Okay, we're gonna move on to reports of council committees. On water and gas, Danny Curtis and Keith Stoker.
The only thing I know of is, that Sid's Market finally got their water meter hooked in there and hooked up, so. As far as the other deal, I don't know nothing about that. The Water Commission request to change authorized place use under our current water rights. The water rights must include all areas you may possibly intend to serve. We have 4 files, and it is $200 per file to update and add City of Lynn Valley Lakes. Total of $800, takes 6 to 9 months to process. The application, no water can be released to the entity until the rights are updated. That's on page 30 if you want to read it.
And I'm gonna have Jody lead this conversation.
So as you can see, I was contacted by the Water Commission, and in preparation, for the possibility with Lynn Valley Lakes resourcing water, you have to have listed the processing plant on their water rights, has to have listed any entity that water would be served to. So, and because it is kind of a long, involved process, they've reached out to, the Water Commissioner reached out to us. I have those applications on hand. The one item I am researching a little bit on is the state, she asked me to reach out to the Rural Water District 1 because Rural Water District 1 is listed on our water rights. We have to be sure that in the legal description for Rural Water District 1, that the city of Lynn Valley or Lynn Valley Lakes is not already inclusive in that description. If it was, then we would not have to update these rights because they would already be included through the Rural Water One. But if it is not part of the legal description of Rural Water District One, then they would have to be added on there. So, so I'm waiting to hear. The Rural Water One was going to do a little research on their end to see if they could find out any information there. So it's not something we have to make motion on this evening, but I wanted to address it with you, and if I get some feedback by our next meeting, then we can make a decision to pursue forward.
Any questions for Jody on that item? Okay, thank you, Jody.
I also had a call this week from one of our residents in our city, and they had inquired on their water bill, and I had advised them of the situation. They did have a leak at their home, a very significant one, and so the resident had contacted us in regards to whether, you know, there would be any situation with the sewer being waived in that leak. Our practice is that if the leak is outside of the home, hasn't gone through our sewer, then we have in the past made some recommendations of waiving that. This was a leak that took place in the home. But the resident, I informed them that we don't have open meetings right now and that they could not attend. But she had asked if we could address it this evening. The bill that's owed was in a $600 range. The person is on a limited budget. And so she, again, had inquired if we would possibly consider to waive the sewer fee, that she would go ahead and pay the remainder amount. So the sewer amount that was on that bill was $147.51. And if we were to remove that off of there, it would leave a total amount of $440.80 due. And so I am bringing that forward to you this evening to allow you all an opportunity if you want me to address it.
So we're opening it for discussion, and since I'd like to hear from everyone, I think that we're gonna do a round robin on this one. We're gonna start with Tommy Cap. Do you have any comment on that?
No.
I really don't. Times are tough, and it's a tough one here. I really don't have any good comments.
Keith Stoker.
Yeah, Jody, I'm assuming this is one we discussed earlier this week.
Yes.
Okay, so what you said, drop the sewer, did you discuss with the possibility of spreading the remainder out over 2 or 3 months?
I did.
And I mean, because if she's on a limit, I mean, if she's on a fixed income, coming up with a big chunk, or, you know, spread it out over, 3 months or something to make up the difference.
I did.
I would not be opposed to dropping the sewer rate and then having her spread the cost over whatever we can determine, whatever we can come up with her.
One thing that I wanted to mention was, and I mentioned it to Jody earlier, is if we did forgive the sewer amount, that we should probably put a stipulation in that it, for the time limit, and then if it was not there, then it would come back on. Jerome or Danny, do you have any comments?
You got anything, Jerome?
agree with Keith. We should be able to stretch those payments out for and make it a little bit more easy to pay. That's the only thing I have.
I'm Danny Curtis, I agree with that. I think, you know, we've done it before for other people, you know, if they've had, you know, something that's out of their control, we try to work with them. I'm all for that.
So are you saying you're for forgiving the sewer amount
Yes, I'm for forgiving the sewer amount.
and then
From the
possibly
payments out, we
stretching
didn't
it
help
out?
this person out.
Yes,
Because if we'd have had a public meeting, they would have been there, they could have, you know, we'd have probably done it anyway.
right. So, so my understanding is up to stretch it out for maybe 3 months. Is that what someone suggested? And forgive the
Madam Mayor,
sewer.
this is Jerome.
Yes,
I'll go ahead and listen to a motion. That's probably the easiest way to handle this.
yes.
I make the motion that we waive the sewer fee and then give an extent of 3 months to pay off the balance on the water side.
There's a motion on the floor.
Keith, Danny, second. Oh,
And
go ahead, Keith, you got it. Yeah.
and we have a second.
Keith.
Jerome Mitzner. All in
Aye.
favor? Keith Stoker.
Aye.
Danny Curtis.
Aye.
Tommy Cap.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion's passed unanimous. We're gonna go move on to the council committee streets. James Thies and Jerome Mitzner. Jerome, did you want to say anything about the stormwater survey?
Well, I'd like to be enlightened on it.
What I'd like to know is if we'd like to begin the process of maybe reaching out to, you know, some different firms that do that type of thing, and maybe start looking at getting some, you know, requests for qualifications, or, you know, to be able to look at some of these companies and look at some of the potential to ask for some proposals to proceed with that type of a survey.
Okay, Jody, how does this survey relate to, because I think on our big capital improvements plan, once we get the CLIP project done, our next step is going to be the sewers, of course.
Correct.
Can we tie this survey in with that?
Well, we have in our special highway reserves, you know, we've been saving for, you know, what would be considered possibly some pre-cost, you know, and preparations for the street projects. And so this is something that we have been allotting in our budget each year if we should choose to, you know, go ahead and start with some surveying. And, you know, this is again just getting some survey ideas of looking at, you know, where our water runoff and things could go, and that will help us as we begin to proceed to look at the street repairs.
I'm all for us planning ahead and getting this type of work done, but I'd like to make sure that we coordinate with the sewer project when it comes to the storm water survey and, you know, the streets also. 'Cause all three of those projects are going to be intermingled. They're all, one's going to affect the other.
Right.
Does anybody else on the council have any thoughts on getting started on another project?
I think we need to get our sewer underway before we, you know, and see how that's gonna roll. You know, we're still a long ways from getting that ready to go before we start jumping into another one that we haven't even come close to.
Well, and one thing you have to, you know, you have already, as far as the sewer, it is already on its, you know, it's to USDA. Once they get the final survey information that we had done, you know, Paul hopes to have that to USDA by possibly next week or the first part of the following. and that will get them moved on the letter of conditions. And then therefore, that project is in motion, and, you know, if we should accept that letter of conditions, you're already gonna be maneuvering to the phase of them starting, you know, with the survey work for the sewer, and the design work, on that. So that's why I just thought if there's, you know, and the other thing too is as some of the financing or the stimulus packages or those things start brewing around, if you have something already established and a survey's already been done and you have something already, what you call just prepped for a potential project, you can maneuver on those type of opportunities for financing quicker, because the ones that I've seen coming out for some other areas which would not involve, you know, that we don't have the need for, it's a turnaround time of like, you gotta have it in by, say, like June right now, if you want some of those things that are out there for financing coming out of these stimulus packages. So that's why I'm putting that out there, is this is just a pre-prep work to show that you have something in hand that you're, you know, wanting to pursue.
Stormwater is an issue, and every time that as I said on the planning commission, whenever we heard anything about any new construction, this stormwater issue is always a problem in our city. And it would be nice
This is Jerome.
yes.
Go ahead, Madam Mayor.
No, you, go ahead, Jerome.
Yeah, I think it might be a good idea to at least start looking to see if there's companies out there that can take a look at this, because we really need to tie our storm sewers and our runoff water with our sewer project, because they're gonna each affect each other.
Yes.
And I would hate to see us to set up one project that's gonna cause a lot more work for the next if they're not coordinated together.
Right, and then the street repair also. Any other comments on that? Tommy, I didn't hear from you.
Madam Mayor, no, I don't really have any comments. I'm not really familiar with the watershed problems here in town. I guess I know quite a few of them, but I see where it all ties together. So if we think we got time to do it, let's do it.
So do we need a motion or just permission to check into it?
Burton, would we need to have a motion to resource RFQs out?
Well, the RFPs, I think, would be required if we wanted to go forward, so, but I think what we need a motion on, if anything, is if you wanted to go forward to get those RFPs, that makes sense. So yeah, if the council's interested in proceeding, then I think all we would really need is a motion to proceed and
Together.
and get the RFPs. 'Cause we
Yeah.
have to.
And I would like I say, what I'm asking for from these companies would just be a request for qualifications on showing their project history, and see, you know, which companies out there are available for doing these type of services.
We would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, this is Jerome. I'll make the motion that we go ahead and start pursuing this. The request for proposals won't cost anything for us, and we won't have any obligation or commitment to to this project, but we still start the process of looking.
Do we have a second?
Keith Stoker, second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. I'm gonna do a roll call. Jerome Mitzner,
Aye.
Keith Stoker,
Aye.
Danny Curtis,
Aye.
Tommy Cap,
Aye.
passed unanimous. Thank you. Next on our, council committees is the sewer. And, who wants to discuss it, did you say?
This is a topic I believe that Danny Curtis and, Public Works Superintendent Dan Naselroad were discussing.
Danny, do you want to update us on the information there under the sewer?
Just 503 North 4th Street, there was a sewer that was damaged to a home when they put the water lines in. And the home hasn't been lived in 4 or 5 years. So, anyway, deal is, it was damaged by them when they bored through there with bore machine, and the expense is $1,825. Unless they respond, they're out of their warranty period, so I don't know, I'd say we're probably gonna be stuck with it.
Thank you, Danny. We will need a motion to pay our cost on that item.
On that, can I make the motion that, we keep trying to get Orr White to, don't just give up on them, but keep trying to get in touch with them to see if they'll pay for it, but at least get the contractor paid by us for now.
I would, this is Burton, I would agree with that. I saw that email on the pages that Jody sent, and I'd like an opportunity to kind of look at the contract and see specifically what it says about any warranty period or what exceptions might exist. I haven't even explored that, and I don't want to put this person off for too long, but I'd like to review our contract before we pay anything out.
Okay, I would recommend you do that then.
So if we are not gonna we're just going to pursue checking into the contract and have Burton check into it, do we need a motion for that?
I don't believe so. If no action is going to be taken, I don't think we need a motion today, other than unless the council wants to do a motion just to table it till the next meeting.
Okay, that's what I was just
Sorry, I guess you need a
looking.
motion to table it.
Okay.
So we're gonna
Now,
table
this
to,
is Keith, I think we make sure, we got a contractor out there with $1,800 out of his pocket, so, yeah, I don't think we move past next meeting on coming up with a resolution, at least getting them paid.
Okay. So we're gonna table it, but act on it one way or the other at the next meeting. The next, committee is the Park Committee, Danny Curtis and Thomas Cap.
I don't have anything to report at this time. Everything's going good, Park. I haven't seen no kids playing on toys, and everything looks like it's going like it's supposed to.
And everybody noticed that we do have tape up and signs up. Our tape is around the playground equipment. Cemetery, Danny Curtis, Tom and Cap.
Madam Mayor, Tom McCap, I don't have anything. Sounds like Dan's keeping up with the upkeep and the new guys hired, so looks like we're on track to have another busy spring up there.
Okay. Public Safety, Jerome and Keith.
This Keith Stokes, I don't have anything on public safety right now.
Okay. The community building is Danny Curtis and James Thies. And it does say that a packet was given to the Public Building Commission to allow them to begin research on an improvement project. Did you have anything to add to that, Danny?
No, not this time. I haven't seen nothing about no package, so the Public Building Commission's dealing with that, I guess.
Employee Relations and Training. Jerome and Keith.
Do you want to speak to this, Keith, or you want me to?
Go ahead, Jerome.
Okay, a few days back, Jody and Keith and I and the mayor had a conference call about the staffing, and we came to the decision that pretty much like what we discussed back at our last meeting. We're going to try to keep the city employees separated while this pandemic is going on. Jody Wade will continue working on site at City Hall. Connie will be working from her home on things, and will have to come in occasionally and work at City Hall to do some of the billing and whatnot. On those days that Connie is in, Jody will not be in. She'll be working from home, and that way we kind of keep our clerk and deputy clerk separated. So if we have any positives, we're trying to keep it isolated as much as possible.
Do we have questions on that?
Yeah, what's Connie Gore doing from home that she can't, you know, I mean, I understand she's working at home, but what is she doing since how she doesn't have internet access out there?
So she has taken our planning and zoning items from the vault, and there's never been an opportunity that those have been sorted through and had a chance to be filed, put together in a file properly. So she is working on those things, and then she also took some of the court items. So any of our box items, she's working on cleaning up some of those things for the files that we don't usually get a chance to work on. So, and then in the meantime, she is still available by phone, and she does have her computer out there, even though she doesn't have the internet opportunities. She can save things. She'll bring it in here and load things onto the computer, and then she's able to work on it at home on the screen, and then brings it back here to download back into our server.
Okay.
I don't know did we say that we did try to get Connie internet service, but that was not a possibility. It just didn't reach there.
Why is it not a possibility? I know where she lives, and I know there's a drop to her house.
You know that there's what?
I know where she lives, and I think she's in People's Exchange, and there is a possibility of internet there.
Well, we did contact Peoples. We contacted Peoples, and then they said that it didn't come across the road to where she is. And then we also had Midwest Connections came out there and tried, because there was an antenna from a service that she did have that was on top of her roof. So they tried to aim off of Parker area, but they can't get past the trees. She has a lot of trees around her house, and so you can't get in that way. We talked a little bit about what do you call those Verizon, like the
Hotspot code?
oh yeah, like we tried the hotspot thing, but you can't do a VPN through satellite on a hotspot. Our VPN doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we tried.
Any other questions on that item?
Nope.
Okay, then we're going to move on to special committee reports. Emergency Management, Executive Order 20-17, the unemployment insurance, and 20-18 regarding church and funeral gatherings were forwarded to the council and businesses. We're not going to review those here unless somebody wants to talk about them, but they were forwarded to the council and to the businesses. Any discussion on that? We have nothing updated on the Swan Fest committee at this time, so we can move on to unfinished business. The first thing is the contract for services with David McGriff to provide medical screening services to the Lacine Police Department during the state of emergency period. It's on page 19 and 20.
And this you all had already approved for motion upon the completion by the city attorney. So I just wanted to be sure to put a copy in there for you, and it has been signed by our mayor, and a copy has been given to the police department.
Any discussions on that? And we've already did B, item B, the purchase order for the uniform and clothing allotment. So we're gonna move on to C, which is the administrative policy number 9, purchasing and bidding policy on page 22 to 29. And this is, remember we had a big discussion on this at our last meeting, and we asked Burton to write up the things that he took notes on. And has everybody had a chance to look over this on page 22?
And just to add to that, what I included in your packets was on page 22 and on page 23, that is the draft that Burton created. On page 24 and 25 and 26, that is, I reached out to some of the other communities that are our size, and some of them sent me their administrative policies, and so I added those in there just to give you some other perspectives on what some other towns have for their administrative policies. So hopefully that gives you all an opportunity of some different ways that you can approach.
Did you, does anybody have any questions on this? And did you want to have more time to review it? Or, please state what your feelings are.
I know just for the conversation as well, I plugged in a couple numbers in there that we tossed around in the last meeting, that being $3,000 and $6,000. Wasn't necessarily the consensus of the council, those are just kind of hypothetical numbers we were using, so we're certainly not married to what's put in there as far as the 3,000, 6,000, that can be changed, whatever you'd like, but that's just what I plugged in there for the conversation tonight.
Yeah, this is Jerome. I like everything I've seen in all these documents, especially like that the mayor and the city clerk, the division heads, have the power to do some purchasing without the city council's pre-approval, I guess is the best way to put it. I think that our current spending policy, the bidding policy, I have no problem with it. The purchasing side of it seems to be tying the hands of some of our employees and having to wait in order to order some things. So the biggest thing I want to see is giving the division heads and the mayor the power to purchase and do the daily operations that we need to do, and then we can, bring it to the council after those small purchases have been done.
Right.
This is Keith, and I'm like Jerome, I think we need to allow, they got their operating budgets, they need to stay in, and they know what they can spend. But I do like the part in there about purchases. You need to buy something, make a couple phone calls, get a purchase order. It's a better way to track things, better way to keep anybody on hold. So, I do like the part about the purchase orders in there as well.
Tommy, do you have any comments?
Madam Mayor, no, I agree with both what Keith and Jerome had said, which give these guys a little bit of power and take a little bit off our hands. I'm good with it.
Danny, did you have any additional comments?
No, I don't have any additional comments.
Do you feel like do you like this administrative policy as it stands, or do you want to have more time to review it?
You talking to me or somebody else?
To the council.
Oh. I think I'm good with it the way it is right now, the way it's presented.
So if we wanted to adopt this, Could you guys take another look at the dollar amount and make sure that under this administrative policy number 9, I'm gonna read the first paragraph. It said all purchases in excess of $3,000 shall have prior approval of the city council and shall be made via the competitive bid process. The bid shall be accompanied by an estimate from the appropriate authority and shall be advertised in the local paper. Purchases for public works improvements of less than $6,000 need not be advertised. Do those amounts seem correct to you?
This is Jerome. Yeah, I'm comfortable with those amounts if that allows enough leeway with the division heads, especially Public Works, when it comes to ordering salt, sand, cold patch, and all that. Just want to make sure that Dan is comfortable with that dollar amount.
Is 6,000 correct, or should it be 10,000? I mean, these numbers can be adjusted.
Well, I think on your big ticket items, that kind of stuff, anything over 6, you probably should have some seconds to look at it.
Okay, so then we're feeling like we're pretty comfortable with these numbers.
And I just have a question.
I am, with number 3, on the second page, the mayor or any department head is authorized to take these procedures when it's deemed necessary to make payments on immediate operation. That we're in an emergency situation, they can do that and they come back to us.
On the purchase, I'm not sure who mentioned the purchased orders, but would the purchase orders be like for like everything? So like, during the day when the department heads or those things are purchasing those things, is it that we do purchase orders on all of it, or do you just mean a purchase order is presented when they exceed those amounts that need approval?
Jody, who are you directing that question to?
Well, I'm actually not sure who somebody asked, I don't know if it was Councilmember Stoker or maybe Councilmember Mitzner that had mentioned something about purchase orders.
Yeah, that was me. I like, that's key. And, I had mentioned about purchase orders. I like them. We should use them.
Keith, this is Jerome. With your experience with purchase orders, is there a minimum dollar amount before you have to do a PO on something?
3,000.
With your experience?
No, I think, honestly, it's probably not anything under $50 or $100, but, anytime you go out and spend $100 or more, we need to have a purchase order for it. I mean, that, I'm just going by what, some of the things that I've worked with, just where our limits are. But
Yeah, I have a similar experience with my job. Anything over $100, we'd have to do a PO on. Anything under $100, we can put on our purchase card. So.
Right, and that's kind of the way I am.
So where would that change be made?
So I'm not sure that we have that in this draft that I'm looking at.
Well, on the draft, like number 3, routine purchasers over 1,000, just change that to 100. expenditure.
Are you looking on page 3?
I think we may be in the wrong.
Administrative policy, on page 24.
It's over here on page 24, administrative policy number 9. Right here, Jody.
Okay, so the one, I just want to be clear to everybody. So the one that's on page 22, on page 22 and 23 is the one that Burton drafted, which is fairly similar to, you know, what we have in the book right now. The one on page 24 and through 26, that was an actual purchase order from another city. I obviously just put our city's name in there, but that was just another different format, you know, that another city had.
But if we wanted to add
But if
that.
you wanted to, if there's some things you're wanting to combine from some of these others, maybe I wasn't clear that those are, but Burton's, the draft that Burton did is on page 22 and 23. And the next two are from other cities, the one on 24 through
That's what I'm
26.
saying. And which one, are we trying to move on this? Which one are we looking at? I mean, which one are we getting ready to approve?
It's the one that says administrative policy number
And obviously, it'd be
9.
pretty simple to add that language that he likes into the draft that we were looking at, so we can, if everything else looks okay, we can just do a motion to pass the draft with the inclusion of that language, or however you want to word that.
Yes. And so the item that a couple people said that they liked was on page 24, and it was number 3. That was for routine purchases over, what was the amount that you was suggested, 100?
Yes.
So that was the item that, and you liked all of the A, B, C, D, E, and F.
Yeah, I mean, that's a standard purchase order. But that would be, like for your small ticket items, shovels, stuff like that.
So that's the piece that we're suggesting that Burton add into the document that, that we're looking at right now, correct?
Yeah, that's just my opinion, guys, it's just my opinion, so, I mean,
So at this point, Burton, can you state again what you said a few minutes ago?
Okay, so my understanding is what the council is wanting to do is add, it looks like paragraph 3, the language, similar language, 3, 4, and 5, from page 24 into the draft that I've got, except with the change of $100 instead of $1,000. So if that's the case, then I think what we'd want to do is just get a motion to adopt administrative policy number 9, or the draft of administrative policy number 9, with the basically including the language that I've just described, paragraphs 3, 4, and 5 of the sample policy, effective whenever you want to be effective immediately.
So you said 3, 4, and 5. 5 looks a little different. 3 and 4, like if you change the number 1,000, routine purchases over $100, and we've always had that $500. So like number 4 would be 500 because that's what our common practice is now, correct?
I may have misheard. It may have been just paragraph 3. I thought I heard 3, 4, and 5, but it's just paragraph 3.
I think it was just paragraph 3.
Same motion.
But if we don't, do we have routine purchases already actually listed, or is that our common practice?
Like currently right now in your in our administrative policy, it reads that the department heads have the capability of $500 is their expending limit.
So it looks like number 3 is all that we're really talking about.
Okay, and just a motion to adopt the policy as written with the inclusion of the language of paragraph 3 of the sample effective effective immediately, or May 1.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, Tom McHale.
yes.
Who's gonna be tracking and taking care of these POs, and who's gonna have to be called to get them?
I do not know the answer to that.
And I mean, we need to have some kind of policy here. I mean, Superintendent Mazero's in Family Center in Pale. I mean, is he a call and get a PO number, or is he coming back and just filling out a PO log?
Well, I mean, theoretically, before he goes to Family Center, he probably should have got a PO before he went.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, I mean, I know that circumstance is always don't present itself, but, hey, I'm going to pay, all I need a purchase order, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I just want to see how, I mean, what everybody's thoughts is, how we're going to play this out before we start getting this in place.
Do we not have any purchase order system, or we don't have anything like that in place right now?
We do not. So like I said, at this point, items that are, you know, that are $500 and under right now, it's up to the department head or the superintendent, handles those purchases. I mean, cause like, just for instances, I mean, like I'll go out and I'll purchase the stamps, you know, 4 months of stamps at a time, and that's, you know, $515.
And you put a record of that.
So I mean, at this point right now, the practice is that all receipts have to be submitted in. So upon the purchase, they bring the receipts to me, and then those receipts are, you know, validated with the information. They're signed by the department head or the purchaser. And then they're matched up, of course, when the statements come in. You know, we go Family Center, Stainbrooks, those places, they give them a copy of the items that are purchased, and they have to be signed by whoever is purchasing it. I mean, that's just been, we do not have a purchase order system.
Tom McCaff, I mean, I don't believe a purchase order system is gonna work for the city. I mean, it would, but we have really two department heads. We got Jody and we got Jan. I mean, they're approving all their expenditures, and they're the ones who have to answer to us. We don't have, you know, 30 different people that are going buying that.
Hey, whatever you guys want to do, I'm just saying what I work with and how I manage businesses. You get your purchase order, you go buy something, especially if you're charging stuff. Now, if you have a credit card, basically your credit card receipt is your purchase order. But if you're charging stuff and there's any discussion or question on the amount or what was bought, you can always fall back to your purchase order on tracking.
I mean, I work off the purchase orders too. I mean, every day, everything I order, doesn't matter if it's a penny or $1 million, I've got to work off of them. But I also have 10 other people, you know, that has capabilities of ordering parts also. So we about have to, but we have two here that's in charge of this. I mean, I think we're just making it a little more time consuming for the department heads and a little more paperwork for them that we don't need to be making right now.
Okay. I mean, that's fine.
But I do agree, if this ever becomes an issue, then we've got excess spending or spending that's not ever been, you know, figure out why it's been allocated to be spent. I mean, then I agree at that point in time, we need to put some procedure like a PO in place. I don't disagree there. But right now, with just two, I think we're functioning just fine.
So for the time being, it looks like the administrative policy that Burton set out with no changes is what most people are accepting. But we don't have a motion or anything towards that.
Madam Mayor, this is Jerome.
Yes. Jerome. Yes?
There, okay. Yeah, I'll make the motion that we adopt the changes to Administrative Policy 9 that was made by Burton without the purchase order, addition.
Do we have a second?
Thomas Cap, I'll second that.
And I'm gonna do a roll call. Jerome Mitzner.
Yeah.
Keith Stoker. Danny Curtis.
Aye.
Tommy Cap.
Aye.
And it's unanimous and it is passed.
You didn't call me.
What happened to Keith? What happened to Keith? Yeah.
Oh,
No.
I thought I was hearing an echo and I thought when I called your name you said it.
I know there's a bad echo on this thing. I don't know where it's coming from.
I hear a lot of I's and so it's hard for me to tell the difference.
Aye.
Okay, now it's unanimous passed. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'd like to revisit the quotes from Advantage and People's Communications for purchasing the new computers and replacing the server. And I'm opening up the discussion on that. We talked about this last meeting, and we put it on, we had moved it to unfinished business. Would we like to take that up at this time? Any discussion?
Madam Mayor, Thomas Cap,
Yes.
I just, if I believe it's Jody's still not in a big necessity and a rush for them, that we just kind of hold off a little while longer here, maybe till maybe next month and see where we're at that point.
Okay, that's what we'll do. On number 10, we're gonna move on to new business. And the City of Lacine's website development, I'm hearing myself and so it's hard. Can we mute those phones while we're reading this?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, before we get on, Jerome, I think had a point to make on that, on the computers.
Yes, Jerome, go right ahead.
No, Tommy covered everything I was gonna say, so we're good to move on.
Thank you. New business, the City of Lacine's website upgrade development. The platform we currently run on will be coming to its end of life at the end of 2021. And we'd like to upgrade now in order to improve our website's ability. Our intern, Katie Russell, has received training on the administrative role for the website, and there is a one-time upgrade fee of $945. We have a contract with One Each and Allison James for our website. We renewed that earlier in the year, and this is just an upgrade fee for the same contract that we're already a part of. And the purpose of our website is for information, social network, media output, and advertising. And I'm opening this up for discussion. Do you have questions for Jody on this?
This is Jerome. Is there a timeline or that we need to act upon this? Here again, anything with the technology and the costs, we probably ought to try to hold off for another meeting or two to see how our economy is going to be and how our budget is going to look.
My only concern with this one is, again, with the it's one of those things, it's a time-consuming process for getting the information and things on the web page for the administrators, to handle the transition, or we have to make sure we have everything in there. and set in place in the ways and things that we'd want it before we would transition, to the new platform. And so, in my opinion, as far as where we're sitting in the general fund under just the general gov for the city hall, I don't see a hard bearing on us to go ahead and get this, covered and start moving on it so that we can get the transition of the web page hopefully accomplished by this fall.
More questions or comments?
Jody, Tommy, do we have to have this done by the end of 2020 or 2021?
So the actual platform that we're currently running on will obviously have an ending of life at the end of this year. So, so this is, like I say, an opportunity for us to go ahead and transition now to the newer version, an upgraded version that will function obviously better than what we have right now on our. You've had your website platform for probably about 5 years. So this will give us an opportunity of just a better functioning web page.
This is Keith. So the end of 2020, not 2021, is presented in the new business.
Correct.
Jody, Tommy again. Katie Russell, intern, she's received training on the administrative role. Does she have any training in the social media platform or stuff to get our websites up and running better?
Yes, she has built some web pages back at some of her other jobs, and while she was in school. So she has been already working on updating some features, and getting some of our information improved on it already the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Is this something that she's comfortable enough maybe going out on our own and getting our own standalone system that we wouldn't have to pay Mrs. James to, look into in the years to come?
Well, actually, the contract that we have is with one each is for your URL. So Allison has actually, over the years just, assisted us with, trying to reach out to get one of our staff in here, capable to be administrators, to handle it. So this has kind of been the first opportunity we've had somebody that has some knowledge to handle that role. And in all honesty, with the web page, it's like everything else. It is it's a lot of work. I don't know about us just doing it, on our own. Because it would take a lot of time for one person to oversee the web page. The one each technology, like anything, gives you that technical support. If there's an issue or a problem going on in the web page, on the background, or on the technical side of it, they're the ones that obviously handle that.
Nope, I agree that websites are a lot of work and time consuming. I didn't know if that's how you're trying to gear this and go towards that, or how you want to continue with it. But so, I mean, if we got to do it by the end of 2020, that's leaving us 8 months to get through it. Is this something that, if we table till May, the last meeting of May, see where we're at that point in time, still going to be leaving you 6+ months to work on it? That'd still be fine?
Yeah, as long as we definitely address it by the end of May.
So do we want to table this
Agreed.
until our last May meeting?
Yes, this is Keith, and I think tabling it till the last May meeting would be a good idea.
Okay, that's what, and we don't need to make a motion on tabling it. Okay, so our next item is, one that is gonna take some discussion. The planning and zoning recommendation to amend Article 6, Table 6-1 by adding the line 19 to permit R1 to allow conditions use permit for food trailers and mobile kitchens for the purpose of food sales. And that's on page 31 to 50. And it's a lot of information. Burton can answer some questions on this. And is there anybody that hasn't had a chance to read that information from page 31 to 50?
I haven't read all of it, but I do, read enough of it to kind of understand the basis of it.
And I do have a lot of input I'd like to give, but this might be one of those, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure exactly how we do things with this, but this would be one of those where we were together, I'd ask for an executive session for this. I don't know how we're handling this.
We have a process for executive sessions. If this falls under executive sessions, we will do it, we will mute the video during the executive session, and we will put up a sign that says we're in executive session. So if that's what you want to do, the executive sessions.
I would request one, but if the council wants to have some preliminary discussions amongst themselves, I don't want to insert myself. When the council's ready to hear from me, that's what I would like.
This is Keith Stoker, I have nothing on it at this point.
Jerome?
No, I entertain it at executive session to hear what our legal counsel has to say.
Tommy, did you have anything you wanted to say on this at this point?
No, I just, Jody re-emailed me the 2 pages, I deleted them somehow.
Okay. So Burton, if you wanted to go into executive session, you could, say why now.
I'm sorry, there's some bad echo. You asked me why?
The executive sessions falls under the same criteria they always do, so we need the criteria for a move to go to executive session.
I would like one for a legal permit.
And how long?
Jody, what do you think, 20 minutes?
That'd probably be good, start.
Can we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, Jerome.
Go ahead, Jerome.
Okay. Madam Mayor, this is Jerome. I make the motion that we go into executive session for 20 minutes for legal contracts with their attorney.
Do we have a second?
Madam Mayor, Danny Curtis, I second it.
All in favor? Jerome?
Aye, that's Keith.
Keith?
Start again.
Aye.
Danny? Tommy?
Aye.
And Tommy.
All right.
I believe that was unanimous. Because I heard about 8 ayes. She's gonna mute the video for the time being, and then we'll let you know when we're in executive session. We are unmuted. So the regular meeting is reconvened. No action was taken. Do we want to extend our executive session or move on with discussion?
I don't know that I feel like I have anything more to say that I want to say in a legal. If someone has a question that they want to ask in a legal executive session, that's fine, but I don't necessarily, I'm not asking for more.
Madam Mayor, Tom Cap, I do have more of a suggestion upon this one. I mean, I think we need to set some guidelines on how we want to proceed with this, so we can start setting a timeline, getting this going, so we can get an answer back to this individual.
Now, we cannot set guidelines for granting a conditional use permit that at this point is not permitted.
Where we are on this thing is that a recommendation has been forwarded to the council. So the council at this time has the opportunity to either, the steps would be at this time is that you would either move forward with acceptance of that recommendation, or you deny that recommendation, or you can send it back to the planning and zoning with some suggestions of review from you all. Or at this point, Burton, can we table this?
Go ahead.
Do
What
you
is the
have a question?
recommendation they're setting to us now?
So the recommendation is that they want to add that line 19 to table 6. Right now, no one has applied for a conditional use permit. All we're dealing with. Planning and Zoning Commission is asking to add line 19 to the table 6-1. You guys have that in front of you? You're looking at that?
Yeah, so is this gonna allow for this individual to apply for a conditional use permit?
So, and that's one of my, that's the question, I think, and one of the, is that's what they're trying to get to. So, you, as the council, are empowered to either adopt the recommendation, to deny it, or to send it back with the proposed change. So, what I want to be clear on is if the council does want to adopt this or something like this, I want to be real specific and clear with the language that if we're going to make this, add this 19, that it covers what it is we're talking about. It would cover the business that's really in question here. Because right now the language says food trailers, and let's just say it just said food trailers. If it was determined that what we're dealing with isn't actually a food trailer, then we haven't accomplished anything. I want to make sure that we're specific enough in our language that we
At this moment, it says food trailers and mobile kitchens, correct? It says food trailers and mobile kitchens for the purpose of food sales. That would be the change. That was the recommendation from the
What
planning
you're trying to
commission.
decide tonight is if you want to adopt that language, if you don't want to make any changes, or if you want to make some change but not necessarily that, what change it is that you want.
I'll make the motion, we adopt that language to the add 19 to that. And this is Danny Curtis.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to adopt, as stated, the change to table 6-1 by adding line 19, food trailers and mobile kitchens for the purpose of food sales. That is the motion. Do we have a second?
This is Keith, I'll second it.
And we have a second. I'm going to do a roll call. Jerome Mitzner.
Aye.
Keith Stoker.
Aye.
Danny Curtis.
Aye.
Tommy Cap.
Aye.
The motion has passed. Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on to the next item. This one is, this is just an item up for discussion. At this moment, the trash compactor, job description is currently, they don't actually, this job supervision of the gentleman that runs the trash compactor is currently the mayor and the city council are the supervisors of that position. It doesn't fall under any of our actual departments that have supervisors. So would the council consider the changing to have the public works superintendent supervise this position? A couple times things have came up and they are right there in the same area as the public works department. And, you know, they're right there and it just seems reasonable to me. I wanted at least to suggest it, that this gentleman actually have a supervisor that is not the mayor and the city council. Ultimately, we do supervise everyone, but I think the reason that it came up to me recently was somebody said that this gentleman didn't have hand sanitizer or sanitary wipes, and a member of the public had brought them to him, and I thought, well, you know, if he had, you know, I'm sure that if he was under Dan would have thought of that and brought that over there. But, and then there's been a couple other issues with things that needed to be addressed. And so I wanted to bring that up. There is a description of the position of trash compactor caretaker in your packet, and I'll open it up to discussion.
Honestly, yeah, he should have been under public works all along, so I have no problem with him, day-to-day operations with compactors, putting him in with the public works.
Jerome, any comments? Danny?
Have we discussed this with Dan?
Yes, I did talk with Dan about it today, so it's one of those things where, you know, from time to time, and not just here under Dan, but even on some past circumstances, you know, the Public Works Department has assisted that area because they have kind of a combined zone down there. So I did mention this to him this afternoon, so
We were hoping that he would still be on the phone conversation by the time we got here, but he did need to get off the phone.
Can we try to get Dan back on the phone again?
yeah.
Sure. Jody's going to do that now.
I'd like to get his thoughts and ideas, but and this Tommy, sorry. I do like the idea of the supervision and, you know, maybe helping get a daily job rule of some things he can do down there to clean up and, you know, kind of help the area a little better. Every time I'm down there, there's nobody around. He's usually just in the shack, but I don't know if there's some cleanup, some trash to pick up and stuff we can assign him to do too while he's there.
Danny, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay, she's working on getting Dan on the phone.
I do have something to add.
Okay,
Pays for his salary, is it the county or the city?
the
The
city.
city covers that. We do get a annual contribution from the county.
Dan, did you join us?
Yes, I am on.
We're discussing whether or not it would be a good idea to add the trash compactor job supervisor, but actually to put him under your supervision in the Public Works Department. Because right now, that job, I think you know that right now he doesn't have a supervisor except for the mayor and the city council. And we would like to discuss with you the idea of putting him under the Public Works as far as supervision goes. What are your feelings on that?
More responsibility, and more work, not really, but I'll do, whatever, your decision, your guys' decision, what you want to do with it. I guess I'm not sure how much supervision really needs to be down there, It's open certain days, but, it's up to you guys, whatever you guys decide.
I don't think it's a matter of checking him every day or actually supervising him every day. It's more that he has somebody that he reports to and that he actually has a supervisor. And that that it's included in the Public Works.
Did I lose you?
Dan?
We're still here.
Hello?
I think everybody just did deep in thought right now, trying to figure out what we should do here.
Yeah, I don't, listen, it's not I don't know that it's a huge issue one way or another. I mean, I'll do whatever you guys ask me to do.
Madam Mayor, Tom McCall.
Yes.
I believe what we're actually after here is just basically the supervision and making sure, just like with COVID-19, there was some stipulations put down that he has to have hand sanitizer and wipes like that. I guess basically what we're after is making sure that he has the supervision to make sure he has the proper essentials to function down there on a daily, weekly basis. Is all we're really after, correct?
Yes, and that if there's something needed, if there was a reminder that needed to be set out about what his functions were, that supervisor might need to remind him. Like you would supervise, I don't think it's a day-to-day thing.
Madam Mayor, this is Dan. Does he have a job description in this somewhere? And when you talk about these new disinfecting or whatever he has to do, and who supplies the materials, is that something that comes from the county? Are we supplying him the sanitizer?
Yes.
We supply it or the county does?
I don't think anybody supplied him with hand sanitizer. That's the one question. But a member of the public did bring something down to him and explain to him how he could make a spray bottle and put bleach in it or alcohol and make his own hand sanitizer. But the bottom line is because this happened, I thought that he's an employee of the city that sort of slipped through the cracks without a actual direct supervisor. He is not a superintendent, for instance, like the chief of police or the city clerk or the public works superintendent. It seems like answering directly to the mayor and to the city council is not particularly a good fit, and things do slide by because of that. So I just wanted to bring this up to see if we could possibly put him under the public works so that he actually has a department that he is a part of, and with a supervisor that he can ask questions of, and that there's some communication there before things did slip through the cracks.
I'm good with whatever you guys decide.
Jerome?
Madam Mayor, yeah, I think the biggest thing that we need, from what I'm hearing, is just somebody for him to be the go-to person if he needs something. And if Dan would step in and perform that role, if Bill needs something, he can go to Dan and Dan can facilitate those needs or send him in the right direction.
Yes, I think that is a good summary. Keith, did you have anything?
No, I don't have anything more to add.
Danny?
No, I'm good.
Tommy? So if we were gonna do this, Jody, what would we have to do to make that change?
We would have to make a motion to change under the job position description for the trash compactor caretaker, under the section of supervision, which currently reads, the Lacine Mayor and City Council supervise this position. You would change that to read that the Public Works Superintendent supervises this position.
Do we want to, not move on this today, or would someone like to make a motion accordingly?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I move the position of compactor operator to fall under the supervision of the, Public Works Superintendent.
And who is that, Keith?
Is that Councilmember Stoker?
Yes, I'm sorry, I thought.
Thank you.
Got that. Yeah,
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Jerome, I'll second that.
We have a second. I'm gonna do a roll call for approval. Jerome Mitzner,
Aye.
Keith Stoker,
Aye.
Danny Curtis,
Aye.
Tommy Cap, Tommy, are you there?
Aye.
It is unanimous, and that item is passed. Do we have any other items for new business? If we do not have any other items or do we have any executive sessions needed?
Jerome Mitzner, no.
Keith?
Keith Stoker, no.
Danny?
No.
Tommy?
No.
Okay, any other business? Number 12, on notes and communications to the council, there was some information from Kansas Rural Water Association on the e-news, page 51 to 52. Make sure you read that. I don't think it was anything we needed to act on. It's just information that we should read.
It's just a monthly newsletter that comes out.
If there isn't anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, Danny Curtis makes a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Jerome Mitzner, second.
All in favor? We're adjourned.